In today's masterclass, we are going to talk about why protein is so super important for aging well. Muscle is our anti-aging super medicine. Everything to do with aging well, I think, starts with muscle and ends with muscle. It's all about muscle. Muscle. An astonishing 70% or more of us feel invisible pretty much the minute you turn 50. Poof, you disappear. Supermodel Paulina Porizkova, who's in her 50s. So her husband lost interest in her, and she felt invisible to the population at large. The part that made me feel bad is she said it made her feel really terrible about herself. The invisibility thing also struck Justine Bateman. She ended up inadvertently going down a rabbit hole where people were just like, God, Justine Bateman's aged horribly. She looks like a hag. It made her feel really ashamed about how she looked. She saw that same shame reflected in a lot of other women's faces, all of us feeling ashamed that nature is taking its course. She said it felt like a ploy to shut her down just when she's reaching her peak. What an easy way to try and make sure that I stopped accomplishing anything further. And you know what? I don't disagree with that. She's on to something, I think. Welcome. Welcome. I am Yulian Y, the author of Age Like a Supernova, how I train and how I eat to feel my most supernova-ish. Because if I feel good, I can do good. I can make my mark. If you want my TLDR handbook, Become Uninvisible, available to download for free at Age Like a Supernova. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine yourself at your most defiant, uninvisible. Imagine doing whatever it is that makes you feel your most supernova, making your mark on the world. All eyes are on you. You're seen, you're heard, you feel juicy, amazing. What I invite you to do is think of one image that sums that all up for you, you at your most supernova-ish. And put that image on your phone or your laptop or your tablet, whatever your gadget is. Make that your saver image. Since we all look at our phones a gazillion times a day, you'll be reminded a gazillion times a day of feeling like a very visible supernova who's making her mark. My promise to you for today's class is to share the most up-to-date science and evidence-backed information and data so that you can make the best and smartest choices. Maybe protein confuses you. Maybe you want to eat more protein. Maybe you worry you eat too much protein. This is a myth we will address and put to bed today. Or you're like me, an uptight chick always on a diet, and now you spend your days ogling protein porn. How much protein are you eating right now? Over half of all older adults don't meet the RDA for dietary protein, which is under 50 grams per day. We'll discuss why A, that's way too low for us quote unquote older folks. And B, I'm like, God, I have more than that just for breakfast. Protein is your muscle's friend. Right now, I eat about 150 grams of high quality protein a day. I'll share with you in a little while how I get that amount. It's easy, it's fun, and it involves chocolate. Oh, yeah. My Supernova Protein Strategy has 3 parts. There's optimal protein for you. You calculate it for you personally. There's when you eat your protein timing. That's important when we're thinking about muscle. And then there's quality of protein, including protein powder and plant versus animal proteins. Because not all proteins, as we'll find out, were created equal. Big protein myths. Protein myth number 1, Eating high protein is going to hurt my kidneys and make my bones soft. Will eating high protein harm your kidneys and make your bones soft? Let's start with the kidney situation. What are the current state of your kidneys? Are they healthy? Then having high protein has no chance of harming your kidneys. Your kidneys okay? No chance. Nothing to see here. You probably know if you're on dialysis. Again, no chance. In fact, it's just the opposite. If your kidneys are normal and functioning, eating higher protein increases the filtration rate, which is a measure of kidney health. As this study points out, despite persistent beliefs, I think they wanted to say urban myths, but beliefs, there's no evidence-based link between higher protein diets and renal disease, kidney disease, or adverse bone health. In fact, higher protein is associated with improved bone mineral density and handstands. I'm just kidding. Well, maybe not, if handstands are your thing. Myth number 2 in our countdown. On days that you work out, you need more protein. Again, just the opposite. When you exercise, especially lift weight, it actually makes you more sensitive to the protein you eat. As one of the top experts in protein and muscle metabolism, Dr. Luc van Loon has pointed out, when you eat protein, you are what you eat, but when you exercise, it makes you more of what you just ate. So if you wanted to, on workout days, you could actually get away with a little less protein. Well, not that I recommend that. Currently, what are the main kinds of protein that you have? Where do you get most of your protein from? Typically, people are getting it from fish, dairy, meat, and predominantly plant proteins. So obviously, that means plant protein is superior, right? That brings us to myth number 3. We need to do a quick little detour, not a huge detour, just a quick little one about what muscle is made from. Bear with me, it'll be worth it. You want to think about your muscle, your skeletal muscle attached to your skeleton, like a brick wall, a protective wall made of bricks. And this wall of yours is special. It's living and breathing. Old bricks have to be removed constantly. Old bricks, crumbling mortar, those get taken out. That's what's called being catabolic. That's muscle protein breakdown. At the same time, new bricks have to be put in. Otherwise, you leave holes and the whole wall gets weak. That's known as muscle protein synthesis. What's important to take away about muscle protein breakdown and muscle protein synthesis, or being anabolic steroids that bodybuilders use, it has to do with muscle building. Those two processes are always ongoing. Bricks are being taken out, bricks are being put in, always ongoing. The only thing that differs is the rate at which bricks get taken out and bricks get put in. If you've been sleeping overnight and aren't sleep eating, you are very catabolic in the morning. The rate of muscle protein breakdown is much higher than muscle protein synthesis. Muscle protein synthesis will be at about 20%. Once you eat enough protein, then muscle protein synthesis is much higher than muscle protein breakdown. The key thing, though, it's not on-off. It's always ongoing. It's just sometimes the rate of one is faster, and sometimes it's the other. For our purposes as supernovas, we want most of the time for muscle protein synthesis to be at a higher rate so that our muscle wall of protection, all the holes are filled in, the wall gets thicker, stronger, better, because size matters when it comes to a brick wall. Where do all these bricks come from that go into the wall? From the dietary protein that you eat. This guy here is Dr. Layman, another world-class protein expert. He advises looking at protein like you would a vitamin pill. It's not the pill per se that you want to eat, it's what it contains. Same thing with protein. In the case of protein, it contains the little building blocks of so many processes in your body. These are called amino acids. and there's 20 big ones. The magic 20, about half we can only get from the dietary protein we eat. The others, our bodies can make them, but often not in enough quantity, conditionally. For best muscle health, have all 20 in plentiful quantities. Our bodies, for muscle making, are looking for one amino acid in particular, one called leucine. Leucine is what's known as a branch chain amino. It just has to do with its structure. Leucine talks to a special master enzyme known as mTOR. mTOR is responsible for revving up the muscle making machinery. Like us, our mTOR gets a little hard of hearing as we get older. So leucine is to sort of shout at it. And how does it shout? By showing up in ever greater quantities. When we are young, it takes maybe 2.5, 3 grams of leucine to rev up mTOR. But after 60, it takes almost double that. And the way you get more leucine is with more protein. So you can see that myth of needing less protein as you get older. Once mTOR gets revved up, it needs blueprints for construction. And those are stored in our cells. mRNA makes a copy of the DNA instructions. mRNA is the construction site on which the building of proteins takes place. Each amino acid has a couple different 3-letter combinations called a codon that it's identified on the template on the, and you can see the little, what looks like a glass cake cover is what's known as a ribosome. The ribosome is the machinery that locks onto the construction site, the mRNA, and reads the instructions and then constructs the proteins. It'll lock onto the mRNA and it's looking for the start codon, which is usually methionine. It sends a little worker bee, the tRNA, off. All right, bring me a shrubbery. Bring me an amino acid. Usually it's methionine. The tRNA will go off and get some methionine from what was just eaten, brings it in, and it puts it on the mRNA. And then the ribosome moves along the track. But bring me a leucine, and a tRNA will go off and bring that. You can see it starts to join together this chain of amino acids that come out of the ribosome, and it gets longer and longer. That process is known as elongation. Eventually, as the ribosome continues along the mRNA track, it finally hits the stop codon. When it does, the protein goes off for folding. Proteins are made from long chains of amino acids folded in different ways. However, you knew there was a however. If you're short even just one amino acid, it can stop the whole process. And that's one of the issues to know about with plant proteins. They're limiting in certain key amino acids that can stop the making of new muscle. For instance, lentils and peas, beans, soybeans, and garbanzos, chickpeas, they are limiting in methionine, whereas grains like corn and wheat and rice, your oatmeal, are lacking lysine. Interestingly, corn, it has a ton of leucine. So it's really good, especially corn protein isolates, for triggering mTOR. It's just the lysine that it's limiting in. So I'll talk in a bit how to be strategic about combining plant protein if you want to go that way to maximize your muscle synthesis. Just be aware that the big ones, plant proteins, tends to be lacking in are methionine, lysine, cysteine, tryptophan. Animal sources, except for collagen. Collagen is a special case we'll talk about. Animal sources tend to have all 20 in the right amounts for what we need for muscle making. We'll talk here in a bit about how to combine them and be really smart and strategic, but you are anyways, right? Myth number 4. There's even a 4.5. I kind of added it. I just couldn't stop. As you get older, you need less protein, and that should be obvious from Leucine needing to shout at mTor that we actually need more protein. The issue is that starting at age 30, unless we take measures, in particular not being sedentary and eating enough protein, muscle protein breakdown starts to acquire a momentum of its own. Starting at 30, by 60, it can be in total overdrive, which is really scary. As we age, this happens. Is there anything we can do about it? That's the good news, yes. The number one reason that we lose muscle as we get older is, drum roll, being a couch potato. People just don't understand. They're like, oh yeah, the doctor said I should exercise more. But this is our organ of longevity and health. Muscle is so precious. Being a couch potato is one of the fastest ways to kiss your muscle goodbye at any age. Check out this really, really scary study. This was a study of guys in their 20s, so at their peak physical guyness. They put them on a week of bed rest, which is typical recovery time from illness or injury. In the space of 1 week of being sedentary, they lost 1.5 kilos of muscle, over 3 pounds. If you're a gym bro like me, I'm a gym bro stuffed inside the body of a Karen. You'll know, God, those gains are hard won. Oh my God. 1.5 kilos of muscle just gone. Being super sedentary, either laying flat on your back or taking less than 1,000 steps a day, is a really great way to kiss muscle goodbye. People tend to become more sedentary and less active as they're older. Aside from not being a couch potato, the other big determinant is, drumroll, having enough protein, having optimal protein. We'll discuss how you can calculate your optimal protein. This whole narrative of low protein for longevity, oh, it's such a bad idea. Oh my God. To me, it's one of the most dangerous myths when it comes to aging. So the fancy name for mTOR, being hard of hearing, is anabolic resistance. Anabolic meaning muscle growth. However, there is good news. The good news is that once you get mTOR revved up, you can make muscle the same way you always have. It's just the getting it revved up, anabolic resistance part. This is where we need to have almost twice the amount of protein so that we get those building blocks, the amino acids in plentiful supply. When the ribosome is doing its little ribosome thing, it has everything it needs, all of the building materials, to make beautiful, shiny new muscle. Myth 4.5. So I couldn't stop. Collagen is an awesome protein. Oy vey. This is Eric Trexler. He's a researcher and a communicator in the space, very trustworthy. In a space littered with charlatans, he points out that collagen is very atypical of animal sources. It's low in amino acids, especially leucine. It's really awful for supporting hypertrophy. Hypertrophy, this means getting jacked. And the reason it matters to know that about collagen is a quick little case study that I think illustrates some of the more unsavory practices, shall we say, in the space. This study in the British Journal of Nutrition, they gave older men, sarcopenic men, as sarcopenia is just the fancy name for age-related muscle loss. They gave them collagen, and they were training. And the results were, let's just put it this way, suspiciously amazing. Over 12 weeks, they lost over 5 kilos of body fat, and they gained 4 kilos of muscle. Normally, to show that kind of body recomposition, where you lose fat and gain muscle, would take older men at least twice that amount, plus a really aggressive caloric deficit. This questionable outcome caught the attention of the big dogs in the protein space. There was Stuart Phillips. I have some stuff from him a little later. Luc van Loon, Kevin Tipton, Douglas Patton-Jones, who's unfortunately has passed away. the big dogs in the space. They published a joint notice about this collagen study, noting that the amount of collagen that the sarcopenic men were given doesn't contain anywhere close. Remember, I said it's closer to 5 grams, not 0.4 grams of leucine. So there's no mechanism for driving that kind of hypertrophy in older men. And then they say there's no obvious mechanism for the magnitude of that fat mass. So I was like, follow the money, right? I started looking into the authors of the paper. I was just curious. The first author is with this Collagen Research Institute. And let me tell you, when you try and find out anything about the Collagen Research Institute, it's like the ghostiest of ghosty. There's nothing, like literally zero. So I was like, okay. I went to author number 2. The plot thickens, right? This guy is the director of this mysterious Collagen Research Institute. The one thing I did find is that it was established in 2004. Here's where things got sort of interesting, but not surprising when you follow the money. I looked up Google patents. Bingo. He, starting in about 2008, started filing all these patents related to collagen with, you'll notice next to him, this Gelita AG. Gelita is a massive German company that sells, you guessed it, collagen supplements. I am in no way, shape, or form against people selling stuff to make money. It makes our lives better. My issue is being shady about it, because the Collagen Research Institute is obviously funded by, this is my take, freedom of speech. It's their arm that this company uses to look legitimate. And there is a lot of evidence out there about collagen and joint connective tissue, but none of this business with getting jacked. There's no mechanism for that. It doesn't have enough leucine. I will just mention that there's speculation that it's the glycine component of collagen that's responsible for joint health. I looked at Consumer Lab. They recommend Now brand. I did find papers that were recommending as high as 10 grams a day for joint issues. I hurt my knee lifting weights. I tried it, and I can say anecdotally, N of 1, yes, it did help my knees. So Gelita makes gummies. What's not to love about a gummy with some collagen? If you feel like collagen helps your joints and your connective tissue, and you love gummies, go for it. They look delicious. I mean, collagen candy, but not for muscle. Collagen and getting jacked should not be used in the same sentence. Which myth bust surprised you the most? Let me know in the comments. And the myth that annoys me the most, it's of course a bro myth. How often have we heard, oh, dude, you can only absorb around 25 grams of protein. My inner spirit animal is a nasty drag queen, and of course smokes and goes, oh, beer. These bros need to go back to school. Let's talk about what absorption means. Absorption is just the part of digestion. It happens in your small intestine. Once it gets all broken down, the nutrients go through your circulatory system, your bloodstream and lymph, to all the different organs. Your liver in particular is a big old hog and uses aminos to make all sorts of things. Even when you're sleeping, it's allowed to be a hog. It's a hardworking organ. Human functioning involves, oh my God, so many different species of protein. What I think these bros mean when they're like, dude, you can't absorb more than 25 grams of protein, is that not all the protein that you eat, all the amino acids, go towards making muscle. There's more to life than muscle. I know, I had a hard time with that myself. However, it never gets wasted. We use it for so many things. It's precious. Your body sees protein and party on, Wayne. It may not all go towards muscle, but it doesn't get wasted. A former grad student of Luc van Loon, put this to the test. I love this. They will go after bromeths in it. Find out what the science says. They've fed people 100 grams of protein, 4 times the bro amount. What did they find? Yes, it got absorbed. Big surprise, it just resulted in longer bouts of muscle protein synthesis. Protein doesn't get wasted. Sorry, gym bros. Remember Rocky Balboa would slug back his raw eggs. Luc van Loon's group found out when the eggs were cooked, it resulted in higher levels of essential amino acids circulating. Sorry, Rocky. Science 1, Rocky 0 on the raw egg situation. Should we do a quick little recap before we move on to my plan, Stan? Now you know that high protein, there's no evidence if your kidneys are healthy that it's going to harm your bones and it's going to harm your kidneys. No. Exercise makes your body more sensitive to protein. So you can actually get away with less on workout days if you wanted to. Plant proteins are not obviously superior. As we age, we need more protein to shout at mTor. This whole absorption myth, protein is never wasted. And collagen is not for getting jacked. So those are the protein truths. Take those to the bank. The time has come to talk about the plan. What do you do? Now that you know the science, you know what the myths are, what's the next step? If you're like me, keeping it simple is always a good thing. And there's really only 3 parts to my plan. The first is figuring out how much protein you should be eating. The second, we'll talk about assessing protein quality. And the third is when you eat, because mTOR is not only picky about how much protein, but also when it will choose to make muscle and when it needs its little diva nap. Takes a little disco nap. We'll talk about that. The key thing about knowing how much protein to eat, it's not a percentage of total calories. It is based on your ideal body weight. In my case, my body wishes I would stay at 60 kilos, around 130 pounds. It's a little too fluffy for me. I would prefer to be 110 pounds or 50 kilos. It's hard for me to get down there, so I tend to stay around 52 kilos, or I aim for about 115 pounds. Let's assume my ideal body weight is 115 pounds. I never go below 1 gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight, 115. Often I'm up at 150. My kidneys are normal, and higher proteins associated with more excellent aging outcomes. If you do kilos, just times 2.2 or above. Don Layman, the protein expert, remember on the wall, he said women really have much better outcomes if you're trying to recomp shed body fat and grow muscle, not going below 120 grams of protein per day. So that's the first step, is don't do it as a percentage of your calories. Do it based on your ideal body weight. This is Gabrielle Lyon. She's a very muscle-centric physician. She's one of Don Layman's proteges. Her book, Forever Strong, that's where I pulled the recommendation for 1 gram per pound. She's got the fancy doctor degrees and training in geriatrics. She knows what she's talking about. So 1 gram per pound, according to Don Layman and Dr. Gabrielle Lyon and me. Yours truly. We have how you calculate optimal protein. Now let's talk about assessing protein quality. The key thing to know is that proteins for plants are created for the needs of the plant. So they come attached to leaves, stems, roots, flowers, seeds, what have you. And those plant structures are not really digestible by our enzymes. Take, for example, a wheat cereal, and the label might say for 100 grams, around 3 ounces, that it's 12 grams of protein. But because of those plant structures that the plant proteins are attached to, you're only getting 5 grams. So you're getting about 40%. Even if it seems like, oh, that's 30 grams of protein, if you're doing a whole food plant source, it's up to 60 not bioavailable. 60% of that protein is just inaccessible to our enzymes. There's something called the DS, digestible indispensable amino acid score, a way of measuring how high quality a protein is. The first is it bioavailable? And as we saw with plant proteins, some of them not so much. If you compare wheat and its DS score of 40 with whey protein isolate, which is over 100, whey protein has the much higher score because it's so much more bioavailable. It's kind of considered like gold standard of protein sources. The second question that the DS score addresses is whether the protein contains all the essential amino acids. As we saw before, legumes are limiting in methionine, and grains are lacking in lysine. Quinoa is a very popular plant-based source of protein, but the DS score is lower because it is limiting in certain amino acids and the bioavailability issue. And this is really not the case with meat and fish products. They're much more consistent and available. Now this, I love, it was off bodybuilding.com, and they put it in groups of what different plant sources were missing. It makes it really super easy to mix and match. You'll notice that rice, which is missing lysine, can be paired with, oh yeah, beans. And then it makes a much more complete protein. This is in the handout. It's free. And I'll tell you at the end how you can download it. If you want something like beans, you could pair it with rice, something from A, or you could pair it from something from C. If you are doing protein isolates, obviously those are much more concentrated and more bioavailable, but you can mix and match just to make sure that all the amino acids are present and balanced. This is Lane Norton, it's a PhD from another protege of Don Layman in nutrition science. He was looking at this study and he found that even when you equated the amino acids, the whey protein was still 30% better at increasing blood leucine levels. So you need more calories if you're wanting to not be fluffy. That's just something to consider. This is why with plant proteins, we have to be more strategic about having more calories and then shoring up any amino acid gaps. We've talked about optimal protein. We've talked about protein quality, timing. mTOR is so persnickety because once it revs up, it gets about 2 hours into making muscle, and then it like takes a disco nap. This is a refractory period. You could eat more protein and it's not going to go towards new muscle. So because of the refractory period, Don Layman advises don't snack on protein. Save it for your meals. The takeaway for that is space your meals about 5 to 6 hours apart. That's what I do. And don't snack on protein so that you get maximum muscle making out of the protein you do eat. Here's some typical high protein foods. You could have chicken breasts, boiled shrimp, Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt is loaded with protein. Cottage cheese and whey protein ice. That's not even a food. Should have put this in myths, actually. Whey protein comes from cheese making. Some of it is casein. That clumps in your stomach and is much more slow release. Casein, for instance, is cottage cheese. So if you like cottage cheese, perfect. If not, it comes in powdered form. Lots of good flavors. Chocolate peanut butter. I think I've seen chocolate hazelnut. So the bros who know a thing or two will have some at night with some Greek yogurt, and that staves off muscle protein breakdown for longer. It's really good for that. And then whey protein isolate, again, from cheese making. That's a much faster protein. It's just powdered form and tons of yummy flavors. Mostly sweet. There are some savory. I have a little protein powder guide that I'll tell you in a few minutes where you can get it, and I've included savory options in there. And Stu Phillips, who's at McMaster, another world-class protein expert, and he works a lot with an aging population. He loves whey protein. He said it's a really great way for older people to meet their protein goals easily without having to eat mountains of shrimp or mountains of chicken breast. That's so expensive. So a large Dunkin' iced coffee, and I love me a Dunkin' iced coffee, is about $2.79, whereas 2 scoops of an Optimum Nutrition whey, love Optimum Nutrition chocolate, is under $2.50. The other brand I love is Dymatize birthday cake flavor. So it's high quality protein. It's medicine for your medicine. So to me, it's like one of the best deals going in high quality protein. There's really only so many chicken breasts you can eat before you're like, oh my God, never again. And my favorite breakfast is overnight oats made with chocolate whey protein, 2 scoops, some low fat yogurt, and some oats. Stick it in the fridge, and it's a really good way to start the day. 55 grams of protein. Bam. Just like that. Now, this guide is Matt's Fit Chef. The chocolate pudding he made that with rice cakes, which I was like, oh, that's unusual and interesting. 55 ways. So that's an option too. So you can Google Matt's Fit Chef or download the PDF I've included if you want to read any of the studies. I have a PDF that I made that's available for download for free. And boy, would I be remiss if I didn't mention the Ninja Creamy. Oh, yeah. Jenny's Nice Creams. She has 3 books of Ninja high protein flavors. No pudding, no gums. Like, I want my ice cream to taste like ice cream. The flavors are all delicious and fun. She's tested it all out. Those you can get on Amazon. If you were looking for an excuse for a Ninja Creamy, I would say high protein ice cream for breakfast. All in. All right, a little quick recap of my plan. Calculate your optimal daily protein. Consider your protein quality, the bioavailability, and the amino acid profile, and your timing. Don't snack on it and leave 5 to 6 hours between meals, protein meals. And you'll be good to go. I think it's time for a success story. This is Joan McDonald. If she looks familiar, it's probably because she's got over 2 million Instagram followers. In her 70s, 70 actually, she went to the doctor. She was close to 200 pounds, on meds, uncomfortable. Said, we're going to up your dosages unless you make a change. So girlfriend hit the weights. She eats about 150 grams of protein. Her maintenance calories and mine are around the same. I think she said her maintenance calories are around 1,500. And mine are like between 15 and 16. We both eat about the same amount of protein. And she can do unassisted pull-ups. I'm just saying. She's completely transformed her life through the power of muscle and protein. And what if you just ignore me altogether and ignore this whole business with protein? You want bad news or the bad news? By not preserving muscle and building it, you are inviting in sarcopenia. Sarcopenia, age-related muscle loss, and Alzheimer's keep company. If you want to keep your faculties about you, muscle is no joke. You could end up having about half the amount of muscle you had at 30 by the time you hit 80, at which time you are frail. If you are frail, you don't maintain your muscle, and you're afraid of falling, it makes it a lot more likely you'll become more isolated. And becoming isolated when you get older is dangerous. Feeling lonely and isolated has bad outcomes. Muscle's not only about falling. Having muscle is one of the best ways to protect yourself as you get older against diabetes, cardiovascular disease, all the things that lead to terrible outcomes when you're older. Or you can become a gym bro. Build and preserve your muscle and age like a supernova. We'll let Stu Phillips here have the last word. This current RDA for protein is just way too low. Big disservice is being done. He was one of the authors where they called out the questionable collagen study in men. He was So he's one of the big dogs, our boy Stuart Phillips there. You can trust. Just remember, protein is the key nutrient for muscle health. Not that this is fun, but I do encourage you to think for a moment, if you ignore muscle and protein, to imagine all the things that could go wrong and impact you. I joke about being a gym bro in the body of a Karen, but it's a serious business for us ladies, right? We can't do amazing supernova things if we fail. Take it from our friend Gabrielle Lyon. Skeletal muscle is our anti-aging medicine. It's precious, and we need to treat it that way. Optimal protein is really, really important, and staying active. Don't be a couch potato, because couch potatoes don't go from invisible to defiantly uninvisible. I would say she needs a cape, but if you've seen The Incredibles, you know Edna Mode, no capes. I did love that montage of all the gruesome deaths by capes. So no capes, darling, no capes. This is the transformation you can expect if you build muscle, you feed it, and you keep it going from feeling invisible and crappy to feeling defiantly uninvisible. And you can make your mark as an awesome supernova. I hope you learned something, or more than maybe a few somethings. What surprised you that you learned? Let us know in the comments. And the next step is always the free stuff, right? Curiosity killed the cat. Satisfaction and muscle brought it back. There's my awesome protein powder playbook, all my favorite different protein powders. Some savory, different consistencies, flavors, brands. Free. Let's go to agelikeasupernova.com/protein. And it is yours. I try and bring the receipts. So if you want to read any of the studies that I referenced today, see my sources, all the things, just go to agelikeasupernova.com/masterclasses, and the PDF is there waiting for you. Masterclass number 3 will talk about fiber. I don't really believe in superfoods, but if there were such a thing, it would definitely be dietary fiber. In this masterclass, we'll talk about the different types of fiber, sources and variety of fiber, fiber myths, things that you really need to know, and the connection between fiber and muscle that I think needs to be more talked about. Isn't really talked about as much as I think it should be. You want my TLDR version of Age Like a Supernova, how I eat and how I train to feel uninvisible? Just go to Age Like a Supernova to read on the site or download the PDF for free. My hope is that you found today really useful and helpful, even if others choose to not see us. I see you, we see each other. So until next time, remember, eat protein, lift your weights, and most importantly, get your supernova on.